The day my neighbor lied to the police, trying to destroy my life, I realized something chilling. Monsters don't just hide in the dark, they live right next door. But when he tried to use his power to silence me and protect his own cruelty, I decided to hit back in a way he'd never see coming. This is the story of how I turned his own backyard into his personal nightmare. If you've ever watched someone abuse their power and thought, someone needs to stand up to them, hit that subscribe button. Like this video and share your thoughts in the comments, because today, justice isn't just served, it's planted deep. Let's get into it. You never really know your neighbors until the walls start shaking with their secrets. 10 years ago, I lived in a quiet neighborhood, standalone houses, big yards, the kind of place where you expect barbecues, not police cars. But next door, behind those drawn curtains, something ugly was festering. At first it was just muffled arguments, the kind you try to tune out, but soon the yelling got sharper, the crashes louder. Sometimes late at night, the screams would slice through the silence and set my nerves on edge. I'd lie in bed, heart pounding, wondering if I should call someone. I did more than once. Each time, I'd stare at the ceiling, phone pressed to my ear, feeling that sick, helpless frustration. Was I overreacting? Was it even my business? But the fear in those screams made it impossible to ignore. One afternoon, fate forced our paths to cross. I found her, let's call her Lisa, standing on her porch, arms crossed tight, eyes darting. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. As we talked, I noticed the bruises, deep purple shadows blooming on her skin. A jagged cut on her leg. Still raw and angry, she tried to laugh it off. Just clumsy, she said, but her voice trembled. I pressed gently, and the truth spilled out. He'd thrown her through a glass coffee table. The image burned itself into my mind, her body crashing through glass. The pain, the humiliation. I offered her a safe place to stay. That night, she slept on my couch. I patched her up as best I could, military training and EMT experience coming. In handy, every time I cleaned a wound or handed her a cup of tea, I felt a knot of anger tightening in my chest. How could someone do this to another person? How could he get away with it? Lisa refused to call the police. He's a mortician, she whispered, as if the word itself was dangerous. He knows everyone in town. The cops, they're his friends. It won't go my way. I saw the hopelessness in her eyes, the way she'd already accepted defeat. That's the thing about abusers. They don't just hurt bodies. They break spirits. They make you believe you're alone, powerless, invisible. But I wasn't ready to give up. I kept offering her shelter, bandaging her wounds, listening to her stories. Each time, my anger simmered hotter. I started carrying my trauma bag everywhere, just in case. And yes, I used to open carry a pistol. It was legal. And in this neighborhood, it felt like a necessary precaution. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. A sheriff's deputy knocked on my door. He handed me a restraining order. My heart dropped into my stomach. According to the paperwork, I'd threatened my neighbor with a gun, claimed I'd waved it at him, tried to intimidate him. It was a lie, a calculated, vicious lie. But the consequences were real. The restraining order meant I'd have to move. My life, my home, all threatened by one man's word. But here's the thing. I'd sold that gun a month before the alleged incident. And not just to anyone, to a cop. My girlfriend's friend was dating the officer who bought it. I called him, voice shaking with adrenaline. You remember that pistol I sold you? I asked. My neighbor just claimed I threatened him with it last week. He didn't hesitate. I'll handle it. The next day, the cop showed up at my neighbor's door, holding a photo of my old gun. The image was clear gun, ruler, time stamp. He asked, "Is this the gun he threatened you with?" The neighbor, arrogant as ever, nodded. "Yes, that's the one." "And this happened on the date you reported?" The cop pressed. "Yeah, absolutely." That's when the trap snapped shut. The cop handed him a ticket for filing a false police report. The restraining order? Gone. Just like that, his plan to ruin me had backfired. When I saw him next, his face was twisted with rage. He hurled threats, tried to intimidate me, but the power dynamic had shifted. He knew he'd lost control, but I wasn't done. Not yet. I'd just received my discharge from the Air Force and was preparing to move back east. As I packed my things, I thought about Lisa, about all the women like her, trapped by fear, by systems that protect the powerful. I wanted to do something permanent, something poetic, something that would remind him every single day that his actions had consequences. That's when I remembered the bamboo. Bamboo is relentless. Once it takes root, it's almost impossible to eradicate. It spreads underground, popping up in unexpected places. Turning neat lawns into wild jungles, I bought a shoot, cut it into 4-inch pieces, and grabbed a rubber mallet. That night, under the cover of darkness, I slipped into his backyard. Air was thick with summer heat, crickets chirping in the distance. With each strike of the mallet, I felt a surge of satisfaction. I drove the bamboo pieces deep into the soil, scattering them at random. I imagined the roots spreading, weaving their way through his precious lawn, unstoppable the whole time. My heart hammered in my chest, part fear, part exhilaration. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice, slow and steady, impossible to erase. Before I left town, I helped Lisa one last time. I drove her to a women's shelter, made sure she had a safe place to stay. She stepped out of my car. She squeezed my hand, a silent thank you, heavy with meaning. For the first time, I saw hope flicker in her eyes. Weeks later, I heard from a friend in the neighborhood. The bamboo had started to sprout first, a few shoots, then dozens. The neighbor tried everything, digging, spraying, even hiring landscapers. But bamboo doesn't care about your status or your connections. It just keeps coming. Every time he stepped into his backyard, he saw the consequences of his actions, green, wild, unstoppable. A living reminder that some wounds never heal and some wrongs can't be buried. As for me, I felt lighter, vindicated. I hadn't just stood by and watched Hyde fought back in my own way. I'd given Lisa a chance at freedom. I'd given him a taste of the chaos he'd sown. Sometimes, justice doesn't come from the system. Sometimes it grows quietly beneath the surface until it breaks through for everyone to see. Standing up to bullies isn't easy, but sometimes it's the most satisfying revenge is the one that keeps growing long after you're gone. Have you ever witnessed someone get exactly what they deserved? Share your story in the comments. I read every one. If this story made you believe in poetic justice, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, remember, never underestimate the power of standing up for what's right.